Ladies and gentlemen, you were looking at a man who correctly predicted every single match on the AEW WrestleDream 2024 card. But now that the predictions are done, the results are in from the show, let's review AEW WrestleDream 2024. Now, kicking us off, we had Hangman Page versus Switchblade Jay White. And honestly, this match was about what I expected of it. I love the finish of the buckshot lariat into the Blade Runner. I think the biggest thing with Jay White versus Hangman Page is Jay White hasn't compromised anything about his character work when it comes to being more of a babyface at this point. But I do think that, like I said earlier, he needed this win, whereas Hangman Page could suffer a loss, especially after a career-defining win against Swerve in the steel cage. I gave this one 4 1/4. Really solid work by both guys. And I think you could continue to elevate Jay White even beyond this and maybe have him go after the Blackpool Combat Club now that Moxley has, spoilers, has the title. And that could be a really good first challenger, especially when you think about the context of Jay White's got a group, Moxley has a group. So I think we could see that down the road. But all in all, this match, really great way to start the show, 4 1/4 stars. Next up, talking about a match that really did well, especially considering the lack of maybe story beats throughout the feud itself. Mariah May defeating Willow Nightingale for the women's championship to successfully retain it. I gave this 3 3/4 stars, really solid. I think if you had a solid story coming behind it, it would have probably ranked a little bit higher, but just what they did in the actual match was really solid. And like I said, I think this is going to continue to just build Mariah as eventually we have Toni Storm and Mina come into the actual story itself, get reintroduced into it, and allow maybe a second match between Toni and Mariah to play out at Full Gear or World's End or maybe even Revolution. But Mariah May, like I said in my prediction video, was the right person to take the title off Toni Storm. Great worker, great wrestler. Willow Nightingale, also a great wrestler. So this match delivered. I just wish there had been more of a story going into it. And all that being said, it still gets 3 3/4 stars. The next match, Jack Perry successfully defended his TNT Championship against Shabata. This match was weird. I did not expect this to be a great match to begin with, but I expected probably a little bit more than this. I give it 3 stars. It was all right. It was sub 10 minutes, so, you know, about what you could do with that match. The ending, the finish felt a little off, but everything that happened directly after the match was really interesting and significant. To me, it was all better than what happened in the actual confines of the match between Perry and Shabata. So Daniel Garcia comes down and he confronts Jack Perry. And like I said in my predictions video, I think Daniel Garcia could very well be the one to take that title from Jack Perry. But then as Daniel Garcia was out there, MJF, you know, rushes in and beats him down. He's going to hit him with the diamond ring. And then Adam Cole, baby, he returns. And Adam Cole is kind of hit or miss for me lately. It's weird that, now that Adam Cole's returned, MJF is the heel and Cole's the babyface, when really, the dynamic of that should be reversed based on the story before. But also, I mean, it's been so far removed from when MJF returned and when the whole heel turn by the Undisputed Kingdom occurred, and really that's fell flat on its face, that storyline. Man, that was the biggest letdown of the entire AEW world, probably over the last year, outside of, you know, airing that footage. But at the end of the day, I mean, what happened in the aftermath is regardless of heel face alignings, still more significant than a 3-star match between Shabata and Perry. But I will say, I think that it's about time probably to give that title to somebody like Daniel Garcia, who's going to be a little bit more of a workhorse, a little bit more of an actual wrestler, like a true wrestler, than Jack Perry, and kind of let the TNT title start to shine again, because it hasn't held a whole lot of significance in quite some time. And yeah, Christian Cage did some great things with it, but before that, who really did a whole lot with it? Really, Miro, probably. So I think it's about time to get that title off of him. Maybe that's what we'll see at Full Gear. What could be fun is a 4-way between Cole, MJF, Garcia, and Jack Perry, but I do think we're going to get the one-on-one match-offs in the next month at Full Gear. Cole versus MJF properly, and Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry for the TNT title. So all in all, this match, 3 stars. Now, a match that was not 3 stars was Takeshita capturing the International Championship from Will Ospreay in a triple threat match that also included Ricochet. Listen, I said this was going to happen, and like even every element of this that happened, Kyle Fletcher being involved, right? And Takeshita taking the title away. I called all this. This match, though, was so well orchestrated. And look, some people, Ospreay may not be your flavor, Ricochet may not be your flavor, Takeshita may not be your guy. This match was really well put together. And also on top of that, this is how triple threat matches work best, I think, in that all three guys are constantly involved in the progression of the story. It's not just, okay, one guy gets taken out and then we have a singles match for a while. All three guys are involved throughout the entirety of the match. And so all that being said, Takeshita really stood out as a star, which I really said for a long time, like, Takeshita is the man. I would have liked to see Takeshita, like, be the one to take Okada's Continental Championship. That matchup would have been a banger and might still be. Elite versus Don Callis family could be a storyline down the road. But with the context of this match and the way that they took the title away from Ospreay, I think it was good. I think now we see Ospreay versus Fletcher, obviously, and then maybe we get Ospreay versus Takeshita again in a rematch from, you know, Ospreay's first proper match in the company. And then maybe we see Ricochet versus Takeshita for the title at Full Gear. I'm just going to start booking the card for Full Gear, apparently. So Takeshita, Ricochet for the title, and then Ospreay, Fletcher, Perry Garcia for the TNT title, and then MJF, Adam Cole. There you go, Tony Khan. You're welcome. That is half your card right there. Well, if I'm being real, that's like a quarter of your card knowing how you book pay-per-views. Next up, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Hologram defeated Beast Moros 2-1 in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. 4.25 stars, verging on 4.5. There seemed to be something that happened to Hologram that like kind of slowed down the end of the match. But all those things being said, like the match was amazing and Hologram's incredible. Beast Moros is also incredible. Like for this just to be like a 2 out of 3 falls exhibition, like it could have stolen the show if that triple threat between Ricochet, Ospreay, and Takeshita wasn't on the card. And there's another match that I put slightly above this one. But all in all, like really fun. Like the lucha style is alive and well in AEW, and I appreciate that. It's just alive and well in all of wrestling. And Hologram's a really fun guy to watch, so I'd love to continue to see him like go up those ranks. And heck, guys, maybe, you know, I said in my predictions video, I don't think he could be a main eventer. But who knows? Maybe you don't need to be like the most charismatic, the best, you know, promo. Maybe you just got to have fun matches. Still don't think he's a world title holder, but you could throw him something like that. He'd be interesting, but he's on an undefeated streak, so I'd love to see this continue. And this was a really fun match. I got this at 4.25. Darby Allin versus Brody King. Now, I give this, I'm going to just come out right and say 3.5 stars, and I feel like I'm being generous. I love Brody King, and Darby Allin's okay. I don't love Darby Allin, actually, and a big part of the reason is, number one, he takes incredibly unnecessary risks all the time in his matches. And his matches are just the same, every single one. It's like watching a John Cena match where you know he's going to get beat down for 15, 18 minutes. And then in the last 90 seconds, he's got to Hulk up, come back, and he's got to hit his finisher and win. And so that's really what this matchup ended up being. Brody King just tossing Darby Allin around. Brody King kind of looked like a babyface towards the end. And obviously, they had their little moment where they shook hands. But all in all, this match, it was lacking something. And I know they're building up Darby to be like the man, Mr. AEW, and you see that in the aftermath of the main event as well. But I feel like you got to tell us a different story with the Darby Allin match. You got to give us something new and fresh. Otherwise, eventually this is just going to really, really sour the taste of AEW fans. And I say that as not necessarily an AEW fan, a pro wrestling fan who appreciates what AEW does sometimes. But Darby Allin has not changed nearly at all in the last 5 years. And I actually think that's to his own detriment. So I'd say spice it up, change it up a little bit. And all that being said, Brody King is a stud. He's a beast. The matchup, you know, in the ring was okay. I still give this 3.5 stars. And now we kind of see between like Takeshita into the hologram match, you know, that's about a 3/4 of a star loss. Then you go to the Brody and Darby match. That's about 3/4 of a star loss. Now we're going to lose another half star because I give the Bucks defeating Private Party 3 stars. And I said this in my predictions. Like, I really thought Private Party should win. I predicted the Young Bucks to win. And I think it's just time. It's time to let Private Party win. There was a tweet by the Young Bucks where they said, like, you know, a bunch of people on AEW in the back were pushing for the Young Bucks to lose the titles to Private Party. And they said, that doesn't work for me, brother. And I'm sure it was a joke. I'm sure, like, you know, they really don't mind losing the titles, or maybe they do mind losing the titles, and this was all like, you know, how they actually feel. But the match was okay. Private Party's awesome. Young Bucks are okay, but again, the shtick and the monotony of a Young Bucks match, like, it's just time for something fresh, something new to come in. I think Private Party is that team. So I'm going to continue predicting a full gear card. Private Party gets the rematch against the Young Bucks, and Private Party wins the titles. I'm just going to make another video about predicting the full gear card. But there you go. Let's see Private Party get those titles. In context of this match, 3 stars for Young Bucks retaining. In what is definitely the lowest rated match of the show for me, Mark Briscoe successfully retained his ROH World title against Chris Jericho. I give this 2.5 stars. Jericho he's up there for me. He's probably like in my top 25 wrestlers of all time. Like, I have a lot of respect for the man before the last, like, 5 years. And in the last 5 years in AEW, he's had some great moments, but over especially the last 2 or 3 years, he has just waned, and he has not been as good as he used to be. And he needs to step away. He's much like the Young Bucks. Step away. Like, move on. This whole learning tree thing is not working. Everything with Big Bill and what's his name? Keith? It's not working. And so I think it's time to just walk away. I'm not saying you got to retire, Chris, but, like, what you're doing in AEW just has not been working for a while. And it's time to go back to, you know, the drawing board and do what you do really well, which is reinvent yourself, but make it interesting. And I want to see Jericho. You know what I'd love to see Jericho do? I'd love to see Jericho be like one of the leaders of AEW against Blackpool Combat Club and get taken out and get written off. Like, that's what I'd like to see. Him versus Mox, and kind of like revisiting their feud from like 4 or 5 years ago over the AEW World Championship, but have a role reversal. And now you have Jericho as the guy who's fighting uphill against all of these goons of Moxley, and he can't get it done because he's the old guy, and he's trying to fight for the honor of AEW, but it doesn't work out. That could be interesting. Current iteration doesn't work for me. Mark Briscoe needs to move on to something a little bit more beefy and fun and of quality, because this just isn't working for him. So all in all, give this match 2.5 stars. This final match, the main event, incredibly controversial. If you've been on social media, if you watch the match, you understand why. It's a match that I appreciate that they're trying to tell a story and not just let the full-time in-ring career of Danielson like be the spotlight and continue the narrative of AEW with Blackpool Combat Club. That's hard to say. Blackpool Combat Club running the show, right? It felt very like 96 WCW, NWO taking over. But, like, why? Why are they taking over? What's their motivation? Like, there's not a whole lot there to the story and to the narrative. And yeah, Moxley won, and that was the right call, I think, because it continues the story going. But what is the story, and where is the story going, and what are we looking for, and what are we supposed to sink our teeth into? And then, like, you can see it coming from a mile away. Wheeler Yuta just turning his back on Danielson, hitting Darby Allin with the running knee, and it just... The match itself and the aftermath was intriguing, and that's why I'm going to give it the score I'm going to give it, but it was not perfect, and there are definitely parts of the story that need to be fleshed out if this is going to keep investment from anybody. And so I give it 4.5 stars. Strictly because, number one, Danielson's the man, and Danielson can wrestle a great match. Even if this match wasn't a Danielson-type match, it was more, it leaned itself to being more of a Mox-type match. And Moxley's a good wrestler too. I mean, of the Shield, he was my original favorite. As time has gone on, I could see, like, you know, Seth and Roman are better, but Moxley's still a great wrestler. But there was a lot of things that just felt like kind of meant, like the whole like bag over the head. at this stage. Like, would have been more interesting if they had just done it now. It just kind of felt like there was no reason for it happening again outside of just the shock of it and being kind of a downer. But then also, like, you still not getting the motivation behind the Blackpool Combat Club. You have a war against everyone, but like, why? Why is there a war? Is this war being, who's calling the shots? Is it Moxley? Is it the Blackpool Combat Club as a whole? Is it somebody else pulling the strings from behind? Is it Wheeler Yuta? Is it Shane McMahon? Like, the story is hard to wrap my head around, but I can't deny that the match was solid and that the story is in some way intriguing. It's just not as intriguing as it could be. So all that being said, it could have been 5 stars if it had had a great post-match, even better post-match angle with some motivation expressed. With where we're at, it's a 4.5 star match. All right, guys, that's my review of AEW WrestleDream. Make sure you like the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. We are getting super close to 2,300 subscribers. The goal is to hit 2,500 by the end of the year. And then make sure you let me know down below your thoughts on AEW WrestleDream 2024. What did you rate the main event? What did you rate all the other matches? Very curious to see your thoughts. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you very soon.